Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I invite you today not just to listen, but to awaken. There comes a point in every life where we are forced to face a hard truth. The version of ourselves we once built with pride may no longer serve the destiny we are called to fulfill. The tools we used, the beliefs we clung to, the habits we shaped, and the fears we tolerated, may have built a house but not a home, a shell but not a soul. Life is not about staying intact, it's about becoming whole. And sometimes to become whole you must be broken first. There is no shame in falling apart, there is only danger in staying broken. Rebuilding yourself is not an admission of failure, it is the boldest declaration of purpose. It is saying to the world, I refuse to remain where life dropped me. I am not the wound. I am the healer. I am not the crack. I am the restoration. You must understand this. You were not created just to exist. You were created to grow, to become, to evolve, and that means tearing down what no longer reflects your true identity and laying new foundations based on truth, wisdom, and vision. You will not rebuild with convenience. You will rebuild with conviction. You will not use cheap materials like blame, bitterness, or regret. You will build with courage, self-honesty, and faith, brick by brick, thought by thought, choice by choice. Your pain may have been real, but your potential is greater. Your past may have had chapters of loss, but your future holds volumes of victory. What's holding you back is not what happened to you. It's what you keep telling yourself about what happened. Your narrative is your blueprint. Change it and you change your life. To rebuild is not to redo the past. It is to design a future worth stepping into. A future where your life finally aligns with the blueprint of who you truly are, not who they said you were, not who life tried to reduce you to, but who you were born to become. Now the question is no longer, will you rebuild? The question is, what are you willing to leave behind so that you can rise again? You were not made to stay buried in yesterday's rubble. You were made to rise. You were made to rebuild. And today is the day you decide, the ruins are not my end. They are the beginning of my rebirth. Before anything can be rebuilt, the builder must ask, what was this meant to be in the first place? That is the question of purpose. Purpose is the foundation of any lasting rebuild. Without it, you may restore the outer structure, but the inner substance will remain hollow. You can paint the walls, replace the windows, and fix the cracks, but if you do not understand the reason for the building's existence, the effort will lack alignment, and anything not built on alignment eventually collapses. Every human being was created with a purpose. You were born not just to survive, but to fulfill something meaningful, something unique. You are not here by accident. The tragedy is that most people live and die having never discovered why they existed in the first place. They get lost in titles, possessions, relationships, and pain, and they build lives out of necessity rather than destiny. But necessity builds cages, purpose builds kingdoms. Rebuilding yourself without rediscovering your purpose is like rearranging furniture in a burning house. You might feel momentary progress, but you haven't addressed the real issue. You haven't touched the foundation. That's why so many people repeat the same emotional cycles, attract the same toxic relationships, fall into the same financial traps, and carry the same weight year after year, because they're building on broken blueprints. They're trying to fix a roof when the ground is unstable. The first step in rebuilding yourself is not action. It's awareness. You must stop and reflect. Why was I created? What am I called to do? Who am I beyond my job, my name, my failures, and my pain? That's where the rebuild begins, because once you rediscover purpose, everything else begins to line up. Purpose brings clarity, clarity brings direction, direction brings peace, and peace brings the strength to endure every storm that comes your way. Your purpose is not just a career, it is not just a talent, it is not even just a dream. Purpose is the original intent in the mind of the Creator when you were formed. It is the why behind your very breath. It existed before your resume. It existed before your trauma. It existed before anyone rejected you, before anyone misunderstood you, before you ever questioned your worth. The fact that you are still alive means your purpose is still in effect. And here's the truth: purpose does not expire. Situations may change, seasons may shift, but the assignment within you remains. Even if you've wandered far from it, even if you've spent years building a life that looks nothing like who you truly are, your purpose has not forgotten you. And the moment you turn back to it, you'll find that it's still waiting patiently for you to rebuild from that place of truth. Now, rebuilding from purpose isn't always easy. In fact, it's often uncomfortable. Because once you understand what you're truly meant for, you'll also recognize what no longer fits. There are things you'll have to tear down, habits, associations, patterns of thinking, even opportunities that seem good but are misaligned. Purpose brings responsibility. You can't live like everybody else when you're called to something uncommon. But here's the beauty of it. When you build on purpose, your life becomes stable. You stop needing constant validation. You stop chasing success as a substitute for fulfillment. You start waking up with intention. You start choosing growth over comfort, peace over popularity, integrity over image. You stop asking, what do people want from me? And start asking, what was I created to give? Purpose gives you resilience. When you know why you're here, setbacks no longer break you. They build you. Failure no longer defines you. It refines you. Criticism no longer paralyzes you. It informs you. Purpose is the lens that gives meaning to every experience, both joyful and painful. Without purpose, pain is random. With purpose, pain becomes preparation. And perhaps most importantly, when you rebuild from purpose, you inspire others to do the same. Your alignment gives others permission to stop settling. Your restoration gives hope to those who thought they were too broken to begin again. You become a living testimony that clarity is more powerful than confusion, and that destiny can survive disaster. There will be moments where the old you calls out for attention. There will be voices that try to convince you to return to the familiar. But remind yourself, I'm not rebuilding out of fear. I'm rebuilding from purpose. I'm not trying to recover an old version of myself. I'm stepping into the truest version. And if that means starting over, then I'll start with wisdom. I'll start with intention. I'll start with divine alignment. You were not born to wander. You were not born to copy. You were not born to merely exist. You were born to manifest something in the earth that no one else can bring. And to do that, you must rebuild. Not on emotions, not on appearances, not on convenience, but on the unshakable foundation of purpose. So ask yourself, not just today, but every day of the rebuild, what am I building and why? When you answer that honestly, purpose will do what pressure never could. It will transform you from the inside out. One of the most difficult, yet most essential steps in the process of rebuilding your life is learning to let go. You cannot rebuild your life while clinging to what broke it. Holding on to what's no longer aligned with your future is the fastest way to sabotage your growth. Yet this is the struggle many face. They want to move forward while dragging the past with them. But transformation requires separation. There can be no progress without release. Letting go is not about forgetting what happened. It's about releasing your need to keep reliving it. It's not about pretending the pain didn't shape you. It's about deciding that it will not define you. You cannot enter a new season with the baggage of the old one still strapped to your back. Just because something once had value in your life doesn't mean it still belongs in your life. Everything that starts with you is not meant to stay with you. There are things you must release: mindsets, relationships, titles, patterns, behaviors, memories, and sometimes even dreams that were formed from fear instead of faith. The truth is, not everything you picked up along your journey was meant for your destination. Some things were temporary tools for survival, but now you're not just trying to survive anymore, you're trying to grow. And growth requires room. You can't receive the new while clenching your fists around the old. Letting go can feel like loss, but it's actually alignment. Sometimes when you let something go, you're not losing. You're clearing space for the right thing to arrive. A lot of people never rebuild their lives because they're emotionally invested in what no longer serves them. They stay stuck because they confuse loyalty with wisdom. They keep people around out of guilt, they keep habits alive out of comfort, and they keep outdated beliefs because they fear the unknown. But here's a truth you must embrace. Letting go is a form of trust. It's saying, I believe something greater can exist beyond this. It's a bold act of faith. It's not passive, it's intentional. You don't let go when things change. You let go because you have changed. You let go because you finally realize that your worth is not tied to the weight you carry. Your identity is not defined by what you hold on to, but by what you have the courage to release. There is a cost to holding on. When you hold on to something that's expired, it starts to contaminate what's fresh. Bitterness, for example, poisons your joy. Old relationships can block new ones. Outdated beliefs can stifle your next breakthrough. When you refuse to release the past, you become a prisoner to it. You end up defending limitations that were never meant to be permanent. You were never meant to be defined by the worst thing that happened to you. The caterpillar cannot become a butterfly if it clings to the cocoon. What once protected you can become the very thing that traps you. Just because something kept you safe in one season doesn't mean it's still useful in the next. At some point, your healing must matter more than your history. At some point, your future must become more important than your fear. The process of letting go is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet decisions made in secret. It's choosing to stop replying to the people who drain your soul. It's choosing to no longer tell the same painful story that kept you in victimhood. It's deciding to get up, clean the ashes, and say, this will not be how my story ends. Letting go is not a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle of freedom. It's waking up each day and choosing not to carry what no longer belongs to you. It takes humility to let go. It takes maturity to say, I was wrong about that. It takes courage to admit, this no longer fits who I'm becoming. And that's the key. Rebuilding is about becoming. If you're not becoming better, stronger, wiser, freer, then you're just repainting the old. True rebuilding transforms you, and that transformation demands a clean slate, not just patched walls. Sometimes people will misunderstand your letting go. They'll think you've changed, and you have, but that's not a bad thing. Growth is a change. Healing is a change. Rebuilding is a change, and not everyone is assigned to the new version of you. Letting go might look like disconnection on the outside, but on the inside it's actually elevation. You're not going backward. You're choosing to rise. And when you finally release what has been weighing you down, you'll realize you were never truly broken. You were just too full of what no longer served you. Emptiness can be holy when it makes room for what's right. Release is a divine invitation, and the moment you accept it, your hands become available to build again, not from survival, but from purpose. One of the greatest misunderstandings people carry in life is the idea that what they do defines who they are. That their achievements determine their identity, that their productivity validates their existence. But this is the illusion that keeps people running in circles, always building, always working, always striving, yet never truly becoming. The truth is simple but profound. Your identity must come before your productivity. Who you are must inform what you do, not the other way around. In a world obsessed with performance and public image, many have lost sight of who they really are. People have become addicted to being busy, equating motion with meaning, mistaking results for worth. But productivity without identity leads to burnout. When your value is tied to your output, you become a slave to doing. The moment you stop producing, you question your importance. The moment you fail, you question your purpose. And the moment you're no longer applauded, you question your identity. But the truth is, you are more than what you do. You are not your job title, you are not your degree, you are not your bank account, you are not the applause, the likes, the attention, you are not your performance, you are not your mistakes, you are not your trauma. Before you ever succeeded, before you ever failed, before you ever created or performed or proved anything, you were already valuable, you were already enough. Rebuilding yourself begins with recovering who you are, not based on reputation or role, but based on essence and origin. If you skip this step, everything you rebuild will be shaky. You'll construct a life that looks strong but feels empty. You'll end up pleasing everyone but knowing no one, especially yourself. you'll succeed in public and suffer in private. You'll build high but with no depth, and anything that grows faster than its identity is eventually destroyed by its own weight. Knowing who you are grounds you. It gives you permission to stop pretending, performing, and competing. It anchors you when life shakes. It shields you when people misunderstand you. It gives you clarity when distractions scream for your attention. Identity is the compass that keeps you pointed in the right direction even when the road gets dark. Without it, you drift. You become a mirror of expectations rather than a reflection of truth. The reason many people can't rebuild is because they are trying to reconstruct success before reclaiming self. They are trying to do new things without becoming new people, but you can't act your way into healing. You must first believe again in the truth of who you are. When you rebuild from identity, your actions become purposeful. Your work becomes aligned, your choices become intentional. You're no longer chasing worth. You're living from it, and it's not about inventing a new identity. It's about uncovering the one that's already there. Under the disappointments, under the shame, under the fear, under the pressure, beneath all of that is someone original, someone chosen, someone significant. The world might not have seen it yet. Maybe you haven't either. But that doesn't change the reality of it. You don't need to find yourself in success. You need to return to yourself in truth. When you know who you are, you stop settling. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop overperforming to feel accepted. You stop explaining your worth to people who don't value themselves. You start protecting your peace. You start walking in confidence. You stop running after validation. You start building from conviction. Identity also gives you endurance. When you face rejection, you don't break. You remember. When the vision takes time, you don't quit. You stay rooted. When the process gets hard, you don't abandon it. You trust it. Because you're not building to prove anything. You're building from a place of already being approved. That shift changes everything. You can show up fully. You can create freely. You can lead without needing permission. Some people may not understand this season of your rebuild. They'll see less of your hustle and think you're slipping. But what they don't realize is that you're not working less. You're becoming more. You're not obsessed with being seen anymore. You're committed to being real. You're not chasing busy. You're aligning with identity. And from that place, your productivity will not just increase. It will have meaning. It will reflect you, not distract you from you. You don't need to earn your worth through performance. You need to build your life from the truth of who you are. That is the only way to rebuild something that lasts. Identity before productivity, always. Transformation does not come from desire alone. It doesn't come from talent, potential, or inspiration. It comes from discipline. Discipline is the quiet bridge that takes you from who you were to who you are becoming. It's not exciting, it's not glamorous, but it's essential. Without it, everything you dream will remain exactly that, a dream. You can have the vision, the passion, and even the opportunity. But without discipline, you'll always fall short of consistency, and without consistency, you'll never complete the rebuild. There is something inside of you that wants more alignment, more clarity, more purpose, more impact. And that desire is real, but desire is only the spark. Discipline is what keeps the fire burning when the initial motivation fades. Anyone can be inspired for a day, but transformation belongs to those who choose to show up when no one is clapping. The ones who say, even when it's hard, I'll keep building. Rebuilding yourself is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. It's waking up and choosing growth even when comfort is louder. It's choosing integrity when shortcuts tempt you. It's choosing silence when ego wants to speak. Discipline is the internal agreement you make with yourself to honor your future, even when your feelings say otherwise. It's the decision to keep your promise to your higher self. We often admire people who have reinvented themselves. We look at those who turned pain into purpose and wonder how they did it. But the truth is, behind every transformed life is 1,000 small, private moments of discipline. Moments where they could have quit, but didn't. Moments where no one believed in them, but they showed up anyway. Moments where progress was invisible, but they trusted the process. Discipline isn't about dramatic acts, it's about faithful decisions. Most people underestimate the power of small habits. They think transformation requires a massive change all at once, but real change happens in increments. It's found in the choices you make when no one is watching. It's in how you spend your mornings, how you manage your energy, how you speak to yourself when you're alone. Those seemingly small decisions are the materials from which your future is built. Every time you act in alignment with your purpose, even in the smallest way, you are laying another brick. There will be days when your emotions try to lead, days when it feels easier to return to old patterns, days when discipline feels like punishment, but those are the exact moments when growth is possible. Discipline doesn't mean you never feel resistance. It means you've trained yourself not to be ruled by it. You've decided that your future matters more than your mood, that your calling is louder than your comfort. In the early stages of rebuilding, discipline feels like sacrifice. You say no to things you used to enjoy. You disconnect from people who once felt familiar. You spend time in reflection instead of distraction. And it can feel lonely, but what seems like sacrifice in the beginning becomes strength in the end. You start to feel different. Clearer, more stable, more in control. The same things that once controlled you begin to lose their power. Because now, you're not just reacting to life, you're creating it with intention. Discipline also protects what you've gained. Many people have breakthrough moments, but lose them because they lack the structure to sustain them. A breakthrough without follow-through is wasted potential. Discipline is what takes a spark of healing and turns it into a lifestyle of wholeness. It's what turns clarity into momentum, and momentum into transformation. You don't rise just once. You rise daily, and that daily rising demands discipline. There's another truth you must understand. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about consistency. You will fall. You will have setbacks, but the disciplined don't quit. They return, they reset, they remember why they started. You're not expected to rebuild perfectly. You're expected to rebuild honestly, and honesty says, I didn't get it right yesterday, but I'm still committed today. Discipline doesn't eliminate struggle, it builds strength to carry it. Eventually, discipline becomes identity. What once felt like effort becomes second nature. You stop having to force yourself to act with intention, because it's who you've become. Your words match your values, your habits reflect your purpose. Your boundaries honor your peace, and now your life no longer needs rescuing. It becomes a reflection of the rebuilt, refined, resilient version of you. This is what discipline does. It carries you when motivation fails. It shapes you when no one sees. It prepares you for the doors you prayed would open. It stretches your capacity and secures your calling. It turns chaos into structure, desire into action, and potential into power. Discipline is the bridge, and until you cross it, transformation will remain a distant idea instead of a daily reality. No matter how strong your vision is, if your environment doesn't support your growth, you'll slowly lose momentum. No matter how deep your potential runs, if your surroundings don't align with who you're becoming, that potential will lie dormant. You cannot rebuild yourself while remaining planted in the same soil that damaged you. The truth is, your environment is either feeding your transformation or starving it. Rebuilding your life is not only about changing what you do. It's about changing where you do it, how you do it, and who you do it around, because environment is more than physical space. It's emotional, relational, spiritual, and mental atmosphere. And every atmosphere carries a certain energy, an influence. Some environments raise your standard, others erode it. Some environments awaken your purpose, others lull it back to sleep. The moment you get serious about rebuilding is the moment you must get serious about what and who surrounds you. A seed does not grow just because it has life in it. It grows because it's planted in the right place. A toxic environment will stunt a gifted person. It will suffocate creativity. It will paralyze decision-making. It will cause you to question what you were once clear about. Many people think they've failed, but in reality, they've just been planted in the wrong place for too long. No matter how hard you try to rise, The weight of the atmosphere keeps pulling you back down. And this is not about blaming others or your surroundings for everything. It's about acknowledging influence. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the places you frequent, the language you normalize, the energy you tolerate, all of it is shaping you. You're not just rebuilding from the inside out. You're also protecting what's being rebuilt from the outside in. You're not just healing. You're guarding that healing from being undone by unhealthy surroundings. To rebuild, you have to become intentional about your space. Sometimes that means leaving what's familiar. Sometimes it means loving people from a distance. Sometimes it means changing the music, the conversations, the distractions you once embraced. Sometimes it means withdrawing from noise so you can hear your own thoughts again. Growth often demands isolation before elevation. You cannot be renewed in the same environment that convinced you to settle. You have to ask yourself, is this environment helping me or hurting me? Is it reminding me of my purpose or making me forget it? Is it challenging me to rise or keeping me comfortable in the past? And if you're serious about becoming, you must respond with action. Because access is a privilege, not a requirement, and sometimes you must restrict access, not because you're better, but because your future demands it. You cannot heal with hands that keep reopening the wound. You cannot build while surrounded by voices that keep tearing the foundation down. When you shift your environment, everything changes. Your thoughts become clearer, your energy returns, your clarity sharpens. Your decisions gain courage. You begin to remember who you were before fear clouded your mind. You begin to see possibility again, not just problems, and in that clarity, your rebuild takes form. What once felt impossible starts to feel reachable, not because the task changed, but because the atmosphere did. Even Jesus, when he went to perform miracles, sent some people out of the room, not because he needed space, but because atmosphere matters. Doubt is contagious, so is fear, so is complacency, but so is faith, so is peace, so is discipline. You absorb the values of the spaces you dwell in. So when you choose your environment, you're not just choosing where you live, you're choosing what lives in you. This also means creating an inner environment that agrees with your new direction. Sometimes the loudest toxic environment isn't outside, it's within. You have to evict old narratives, silence internal criticism, uproot limiting beliefs. Because you can't rebuild externally while being sabotaged by internal voices saying, "You're not ready, you're not worthy, you've already failed." The new environment you need begins with the one you create in your mind. That's where peace begins, that's where confidence is built, that's where clarity is restored. To rebuild well, you must live in alignment. That means every part of your life, your friends, your schedule, your habits, your silence, your circle, should echo the future you say you want. Because eventually your environment becomes your identity. Stay in a broken system long enough and you start seeing yourself as broken. But step into a space that speaks life and suddenly the truth about who you are starts to resurface. There are places that remind you of who you were, and then there are spaces that call out who you're becoming. You know the difference. Some rooms feel too small not because the space changed, but because you grew. Some friendships feel different not because they became toxic, but because your values evolved. That's not betrayal, that's transition. And every rebuild requires you to walk away from some places and walk into new ones. That's how you protect the process. That's how you create a life that reflects not just survival, but true, sustainable transformation. There is a version of you that only exists in the future, a healed you, a whole you, a disciplined, fulfilled, and aligned you. That version is not just a possibility. It is a blueprint waiting to be built. But the raw materials for that version of you are not found in major breakthroughs or life-altering moments. They are found in the days most people overlook. The mundane days, the ordinary routines, the small, silent decisions you make when no one is watching. That is where your future is being constructed, brick by brick. Most people want change. They want transformation. They speak of destiny and calling, of greatness and legacy. But what they often miss is that all of it is buried in daily stewardship. You can only become tomorrow what you consistently commit to today. You don't become strong by dreaming about strength. You don't become wise by wishing for clarity. You don't become excellent by waiting for opportunity. Everything you want to see manifest in your life tomorrow begins with what you master today. The mistake many make is waiting for the right moment to start building. They believe that a shift in season will create a shift in discipline, that a new opportunity will unlock new character, that a promotion will make them more focused. But change doesn't happen because the conditions are perfect. Change happens when the commitment becomes personal. It's not about waiting for more, it's about honoring what you already have. And when you master the daily, the future has no choice but to submit to your consistency. Rebuilding yourself doesn't happen in loud ways. It happens in the quiet. It happens when you get up early and train your mind to be still. It happens when you turn off the noise and listen to your own thoughts without judgment. It happens when you choose not to compromise even when it's easier to take shortcuts. It happens when you create structure where there was once chaos. Every small act of responsibility is a declaration of the future you're committed to building. But the reason most never rebuild is because they despise the discipline of the daily. They get bored. They get distracted. They confuse consistency with stagnancy. They want impact, but they resist process. They desire greatness but avoid the grind. What they don't realize is that the most powerful rebuild is not explosive, it's incremental. The strongest transformation is not what the world sees, it's what you do when no one sees anything at all. Mastering the daily means you stop being ruled by emotion and start being guided by principle. It means you don't wait to feel inspired, you act out of conviction. It means you treat every moment as an opportunity to rise. You don't ignore the small things because you understand that they are the foundation of everything big. If you can't manage your morning, how will you manage your mission? If you can't govern your thoughts, how will you lead others? If you can't control your schedule, how will you handle success? There's a reason your future feels far away. It's waiting on your consistency. Every missed day pushes the vision further out. Every compromise slows the momentum. But every disciplined act, no matter how small, accelerates the arrival of the version of you that already exists in potential form. The future you is not found in fantasy, it is forged in daily faithfulness. Every habit you create is a seed, and every seed has an appointed season of harvest. The people who achieve uncommon breakthroughs are not more talented than you, they are not luckier than you, they are more submitted to their daily. They've made peace with repetition. They've accepted that mastery is boring. They don't chase excitement. They build rhythm. They understand that while others are distracted by what's urgent, they must stay loyal to what's important. And that loyalty pays off in time. They don't just start well, they finish. And finishing requires the kind of faithfulness most people underestimate. Rebuilding doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for progress. You're going to have days where the plan slips. You're going to feel resistance. But mastery doesn't mean never failing. It means never quitting. It means waking up the next day and choosing again to build. To grow, to stretch, to become, because every time you show up, you're proving that your future matters more than your past, that your calling is louder than your comfort, that your potential is worth the process. So you must ask yourself, are your daily decisions aligned with your desired destiny? Are you speaking life into your future, or slowly drifting back into patterns that no longer belong to you? You don't get to your next level by dreaming bigger. You get there by becoming better in the present. Your habits matter, your routines matter, your silence matters. Every minute you own is either building your future or breaking your momentum. You are not rebuilding a moment. You are rebuilding a life. And that life is created in the minutes, the mornings, the mindsets you steward now. You are not waiting on a miracle. You are the miracle waiting to be activated through daily mastery. Nothing is too small. Nothing is wasted, and the life you long for is not far. It's already here. It's just hidden inside your daily decisions, waiting for you to take it seriously. Everything you need to become the person you were designed to be is already inside you. But it will not emerge by accident. Rebuilding yourself is not a moment. It's a movement within, a return to purpose, a commitment to discipline, a refusal to be defined by what happened, and a bold decision to shape what comes next. You were not born to stay broken, lost, or limited. You were born to rise, again and again, stronger, wiser, more focused, and more aligned. But that rise requires intention. It demands that you rediscover your identity, protect your vision, embrace discipline, and transform your environment. And it calls you to respect the process, honoring the power of small daily steps. The future you long for won't come by wishing, and it will not arrive by waiting. It will come when you say enough, enough delay, enough distraction, enough doubting, when you rebuild with conviction, when you move with vision, and when you live with discipline. You won't just change your life, you'll change generations. Now is the time. Not tomorrow, not when things feel easier, right here, right now. This is the place where the rebuild begins. The past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have the power to define you. Only you can do that. So take the pieces, pick up the blueprint, and start building, because the world doesn't need a copy. It needs the real you, whole, healed, rebuilt, and ready.